Right, so lathe's sort of back together-ish as much as it will be. There's a chuck obviously missing, that's in a box, just needs a clean up. Yeah, and then obviously I want to sort my Gibbs strip out on there, put a couple of new M6 grub screws in, bits like that. And upon assembling the tailstock, I realised that the cam at the bottom, which locks it to the bed when you pull the lever, that's worn, so once the lathe's back together that'll be a project to machine one of them up. Yeah, but as for where it's at now, this is the motor. This, I don't even know if this works. It was given to me by my mum's husband, so thanks for that, Paul. Got two pulleys there. They came from a chap on the Boxford Facebook group. He posted them to me. They're out of an underdrive cabinet, but this lathe should have originally been on a cabinet, but there weren't no cabinet, so yeah, I figured I'd get the original pulleys out of a cabinet and we'll mount them on the bench somehow. If I'd have used the TUD bed, I could have mounted something underneath the bench, but this is a Model B bed and it's originally was a rear motor mount, so the bed actually hasn't got the facility to drop a belt through it, so it goes out the back, which whoever had this last was using this as either on a bench or was driving it out the back somehow, because of the way the garden was set up. So we'll figure something out. That's what's tonight's project, is work out how I'm going to mount. So your motor runs this big pulley. The big pulley is obviously spinning the 5-step pulleys, which is joined to that 5-step pulley, which is how you get your gear in. The small pulley is then directly to the back, so somehow I've got to package all of that behind the bed. So there is the option of mounting the motor underneath the bench, cutting out a slot and having that run this belt above. So that may end up being what happens there, I don't know yet. And it's somewhere along the line I need one of these two needs to pivot so that I can lock it, undo it and get my speeds. Right, next instalment. As you can see, lathe's in the corner, the motor's there. I've got a countershaft set up here, so basically those two pulleys will give me my speeds. That small one drives to the lathe, that one is driven by the motor, which will shuffle under there. This pulley setup has took most of the week of evenings. It's been in two different forms because I thought I could mount the motor to the top pulley, basically turn it upside down and it'd work that way, but it wouldn't, so I've turned the whole thing 180 degrees, mounted the motor at the bottom again, and it's just, yeah, not ideal, but it should work, and once it's got some guarding around it, it should be alright. I may put a brace in from this side, just coming down. I think it needs it. If I knew that was what I was going to have to do, originally I'd have made a bench from scratch, and that would have been one post that went right down to the floor, and there'd have been braces and stuff. I'd have done it differently, but we got what we got. Good evening, YouTube. Been a couple of evenings of work, but we have currently got motor mounted to a base plate. That's all drilled through, all them plates. The 10mm plate that's underneath here is riveted and countersunk. Then there's a 6mm packer, because it just happened that I had a spare which I was going to pivot the motor on, and end up not bothering. It's about right on the tension when that one's in there, and I'll put a tensioner in if I need to. As you can see, there's a couple of bolts that aren't in on the top pulley because it's all got to come apart to be painted. It's currently aligned and tightened up, everything is. The motor I've just got mounted, wired in. It's just got a plug on the end at the minute just to test it, because I didn't even know if the motor was any good. It was given to me by my mum's partner, so that's been under a cupboard for ages, and I thought, well, I'll give it a test. Eventually I want to go 3-phase and VFD, but I just want to get it running. As you can see, the lathe's off to one side. I've literally just got this all tested, so I'll just flick it on, show you it running. It's wired up, it's going the right way for the lathe. The motor is reversible. I've got a reversible switch for it. Don't know if I'll use the one I've got because it came with the lathe, or if I have to get another one. But we're good, we now go. There's a bit of noise to it, but nothing major. By the time there's some guarding on there and everything's bolted down on the bench, and then the bench is going to be on feet anyway to adjust that in level, and then I'll level the bed to the bench, so there'll be some less noise, I think. That being said, the motor is fairly noisy. I think there's a bearing gone in it or going, so I'll address that or just get a 3-phase and an inverter. I am quite happy the way it's progressing. I'm now going to get the lathe in line, try and line up the two pulleys and get the lathe bolted down, so I can actually get the spindle going. That's my goal for the evening, but we're now getting quite late and it is fairly noisy, so yeah. But I'll get this in, get it lined up, get it bolted down, because I'm not going to run a tensioner. I'm literally going to join the belt roughly in position where I want the lathe, pull it back to tension it, mark the hole, drill it, and that'll be my tension for that. And if I need a tensioner, I'll fit one. Like I say, this isn't how it should be. It's being made up as I go along to work with what I got. So yeah, dandy. Alright, bed holes have been marked, drilled, 2 at the other end. I've only got one picking up on the base, but the rest of them are picked up by motor mount and that, and it just generally stiffens. This end is a lot more, see what I mean? So I'm thinking I may get, there's a brace what runs dead through the middle of the other leg, so I don't know how to do that end, but I'll figure something out. But yeah, this one goes right through the 10mm plate. 10mm plate finishes here. It wasn't wide enough to catch both mounts anyway, so I decided just to go with this one, rightly or wrongly. Yeah, I'll get that in line, bring it back in. Absolutely sacrilege. I hate it, drilling holes in a brand new bench top. And it's now full of holes, but I guess it was purpose built for this lathe, so you know, it is what it is, but wasn't my first choice, that's for sure. Right, we're all bolted in. The tension is fairly okay, but it's going to stretch, and that's what I'm worried about, because that belt is old and shit. So I'm thinking I'm probably just going to need a little post with a tensioner pulley on it, maybe. I'm also thinking that belt's probably going to snap, but it came with it. I'll use it. It's become a bit of a game to me how cheap this thing is going to be, so let's see if it goes. Hey, that's not too bad. There's a bit of wobble in the bench. Obviously the legs aren't levelled yet. And I think that's on the slower speed. But it turns. I'm well over the moon with this. I'll get the extra bolts in the back bearings. It'll be clean the chuck up, mount a tool of some description, see if I can get a cut. It's going to be all out of whack because the bench isn't level. I just really want to test belt tension, and then from there I think it's going to be Boxford improvement videos. So this is the end of part 3. It goes, it does what it should, and from now on out it'll be Boxford improvement, and all the things I'm going to run through to basically get it as good as it can be for something that's this old, with the wear in the bed and saddle, and yeah, we'll see. So take care, YouTube.